I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and passionate music lover, and I wanted to delve deeper into new music in the independent scene around the world. I also saw this as a chance to help artists connect and share their stories, so if there's someone you hear and you want to find out more about, every podcast has links in the show description. Get involved, help this community grow, follow on the 10,000 Hours of Indie socials, you can find all the links in the show description. And also feel free to email me about anything music related, 10,000indie@gmail.com. I'm open to any ideas and love listening to your promos. For this episode, we have a return visitor to the podcast in the form of Danielle Sum. We first spoke when I interviewed her as a member of Tiger Balm for the Being Independent series, which is available wherever you listen to this. Today we speak as Danielle prepares for a new chapter in her life. Turning 30 this week, and with the release of an amazing single, Becoming, This Is Letting Go, about reminiscing on that which has gone before, now seemed like a good time to find out more about her work as a solo artist and more. Hi, Danielle. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Daniel. It's great to be back.
First question, is turning 30 something that's been on your mind?
Yeah, I think the past couple of years I've just been thinking about it because, I don't know, I always heard that like your 20s are kind of the prime of your life. And I feel like just the discourse around aging is as soon as you turn 30, like your life is over, which is like so funny to me because I don't believe that that's true. I feel like a lot of people I've talked to have really enjoyed life after their 20s, which is really reassuring for me. But yeah, I think I just think about aging a lot, just watching like the younger people in my life grow up. Like I work with a lot of church youth and just watching them grow up, or just even on a more sort of somber note, like watching my parents age, watching my grandparents age. Like, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that.
Well, I'm 46, and I can tell you and actually, I'm not even 46, I'm 45 still. That's how foggy I am in the brain today. So I'm edging ever closer to 50, and I can tell you it was only last year that I discovered what I actually wanted to do with my life. So I don't believe in your life's over after 20s. I think that's nonsense.
I'm glad.
You seem to feel your birthday is a good time to release Becoming, This Is Letting Go, as it's all about accepting change.
Yeah, I wish my birthday landed on a Friday this year. And if I had released this 2 years ago, it probably would have been more fitting because I know that music tends to be released on Fridays, especially new tracks. I don't know. I think that's just what I've seen, but I don't really care. It's my release. I'm an independent artist. I will release it whenever I feel like it. So yeah. I felt like it was a fitting release, just entering like a very new chapter, very new decade. Just thought it would be a nice way to send myself into it.
So for me, the single has layers of really beautiful vocals and just a touch of instrumentation, much like your EP. Do you find when writing that the lyrics are especially important for you?
I would say so. I think typically when I write, I honestly wish I had like a method to the madness, but for this particular song, I actually started off with the instruments. I remember specifically the moment of inspiration for me was actually sitting in my church's Easter service. There was just something about the way they played. We usually end our services with something called a doxology, which is just a way, I guess, to send the congregation back out into real life after services. And I think because it was Easter, they did it differently. And I just remember sitting there being like, wow, like this is a really beautiful melody, the way that they did it. And I just kind of sat on that for a little bit. And so this descending melody that I heard ended up becoming the inspiration for the first part of the song that I wrote. And I think I just happened to be turning out lyrics at the time. Like when I was writing a bunch back, I think last year or 2 years ago, I just had this new practice where I was like journaling a lot and then pulling ideas from that. And basically there's just a lot of half-baked ideas in this songwriting notebook of mine. And when I heard the music, I just thought it was like, oh, like what lyrics could really fit with that? And I just happened to find a good match. So that's how the genesis of the song came about. And then from there, expanding it, fleshing it out, the instruments and the vocal layers that you hear, a lot of that came later, even up until the recording process itself. I think for me, this time around, I wanted to go in with an idea of what I wanted, but also to be open to the ideas that would come in the creation process, which I think before in my previous work or my previous EP, I very much had everything written down. I felt like there was not as much room for a fresh idea that could come out in the creation process, and I wanted to give myself that room this time.
Who else did you have involved in this? Was this purely your passion project for you, or did you have a few other people in? I mean, were all the vocals yours, just layered and layered, or did you have somebody else involved in that?
Yeah, when it came to the project, I was working with a very limited budget because, as you said, it was like a personal passion project for me. And so I did have a team though, just because there were some things that I knew it was just better to hire someone who knew what they were doing for. So I worked with mostly Dee Badua, who is a producer and a musician in their own right, based in Ontario as well. Dee and I met through a project for Tiger Bomb, actually. And I just really liked working with them. They felt very easygoing, and I really liked their energy. And so they helped me record everything in my basement and actually ended up giving me some ideas for the overdubs and stuff in the vocals. I would say that Dee's signature is like a lot of vocal arrangement work, and they actually have a solo project themselves if you want to check it out, where they just have these lush, beautiful vocal harmonies, and they just have a really cool way of recording it to make everything seem really full. I'm not going to spill their secrets here, but you'll just have to work with them to find out, I guess. And then Dee mixed and recorded. They did the recording and they were my mixing engineer. And then I hired someone else to do mastering just because I feel like it's nice to have a fresh set of ears. And so I worked with Francis TQ Hudson, who I worked with on my previous EP. TQ was a recommendation that came from like a colleague of mine, and I really liked the way that he just is so thorough and so considerate. Like we called and just talked about the files that I had and what he would need from me. Just was able to ask a lot of questions. Like he was very thorough, and I really liked just the attention and the care that he put in, not just to the project, but for me as a person as well. And he did incredible work on my last EP. So I was like, why not? And then I would say the last person who I felt was really integral to the project was Clarissa Cheung, who helped me with the photography. So Clarissa and I we're friends. We go way back, and she's an incredible film photographer and is starting to do more work as a photographer as well. And so I just thought that, I don't know, I felt really nostalgic, I guess, with this project. And I felt like, oh, like to do everything on film would be kind of fun. And just to give it that sort of timeless, dreamier look, which, yeah, Clarissa knocked those photos out of the park. I'm really happy with them. And yeah, I'll be releasing those like slowly but surely on my socials and figuring out what my digital liner notes were going to look like.
So this is your
Yes.
first solo release since your EP Still Softness in 2022. Why?
That's a great question. Honestly, mainly just because of time. I balance a lot of different creative careers apart from songwriting, which has honestly been more of a passion project for me than anything. And so a lot of it was just my other work taking priority. Although I will say that applying for funding has kind of been a barrier as well. Just I haven't had a successful grant for this particular project yet. This song was actually meant to be a part of a larger album that I've had in mind, and I just haven't been able to have a chance to fund it yet. But honestly, for me, like I'm okay with that. Like I'm not in a rush to release music. I know that it will take time, and the grant cycle, especially in Canada, can be kind of tricky. Just because there's a lot of art and a lot of projects that want to be funded, and unfortunately, like just less funding as the years go on. Yeah, I think I just didn't feel like I had anything really to say. But this one felt really personal for me, especially with like leaving my 20s. And I was like, I think this is something that's worth saying, even if I'm not getting any funding for it. So yeah, that's why I chose to release it. That's why we're doing the thing and putting out some new music. And I felt like it was just, now that I know a lot more, having worked with Tiger Bomb and just seeing a lot of my artist friends go through the process, I think I also know more about what it takes to release music and to go through this process. And it was just nice to remind myself of what that felt like. Just to remind myself that I do love this and that I really do come alive when it comes to creating.
In a slightly different direction with the questions, what do you
Yeah.
think being a classically trained musician adds to your sound?
Ooh, that's a great question. The first thing is probably just the instrumental bass that I work with a lot is not often seen. So I did my classical training as a percussionist, and yeah, that exposed me to a lot of instruments that I didn't really know before, or like kind of knew about, but not really. Like specifically, I would say the marimba, because that's what I am most known for playing. That's probably the one that I'm best at. When I was like a high school student, all I really knew about the marimba was that it was the ringtone for the iPhone. Um, and I was one of those people who was like, everything's a xylophone, right? No, like after my degree, obviously, I know everything is not a xylophone. But I would say that I think it comes out a lot in my work ethic and the way that I perform. Because I feel like one thing that I took away from classical music and that upbringing was just being able, like, how to practice and how to be consistent. But especially for recording, it's like if we're doing multiple takes, it helps to be able to play things sometimes the same way if you need like just a better take, or to make a minor adjustment to accommodate like a different emotion or like a different style of performance. Like to be able to tweak that and make that change on the fly, I think was something that I had to learn to be comfortable with, especially in like my undergrad. Just if I was playing a master class for another artist or like a visiting professional, like, and they'd be like, oh, like, I liked the way you played that, but can you try it a little more like this? And just that sort of feedback loop and getting used to that, I think, is something that I'm really thankful for my classical upbringing in. Some of the downsides I would say were just like, yeah, I'm not as good at thinking on my feet. A lot of the overdubs and the stuff that came in through the recording process, like I definitely did not really come up with those on my own, or I definitely felt more self-conscious and not as confident about them. But I will say the attention to detail and being able to make those minor, like those little tweaks in the details is something I'm very thankful for as one of the bigger things that I think I got out of my degree.
I was going to say, does it hinder you? But you've already kind of answered that question.
Yeah,
Is
no, it's
that
a big hindrance sometimes.
is that where being in Tiger Balm, for example, really helps because the others can sort of say, well, why don't you try this, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think one of my biggest flaws as a musician and as a performing instrumentalist is that, like, I'm really bad at thinking on my feet or just being comfortable, like, having my own voice. I think, like, I'm always like, I would rather someone just tell me what to do, exactly how I should. Like, I know I can do exactly what someone else tells me to do to a T. To do something of my own free will is very terrifying. And I think even just sometimes pulling things by ear, like that's a skill that I was like, oh, I really need to start developing that again because I'm starting to lose it. But yeah, playing in Tiger Bomb and just being in a space where everyone else is just so open and open-minded, and I feel very comfortable trying new things with them. And it's really cool because I'm also very inspired by when they try new things. And I'm like, wow, like thank you for being so brave to show us that. And yeah, it's a really cool space of just being able to benefit from each other's care, but also from each other's creativity.
So you also teach percussion. How do you separate the teaching and your own enjoyment of playing? Does that become difficult sometimes?
Oh my gosh, it's like this is a never-ending battle. I would say that there are days where it's really hard to separate. To be fair, a lot of it has been enjoyable so far, which I'm very thankful for, like my own playing and my own work. And I think that I just try to find ways to keep it fun for myself because I actually went through a very similar struggle teaching drums. So I started off playing drums and then became a percussionist, and I would definitely say I'm more of a percussionist than a drummer. But I do often teach a lot of drums because I feel like that's what people want to learn. And then when you tell someone you're a percussionist, they're like, "Oh, okay, like you play drums too, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." And so I remember for a while growing up, or like as I was developing and emerging in my career, and I would say I still am, like but the very, very early stages of my career, I felt like, oh, like there's a certain expectation that because I'm a drum teacher, like I have to be able to play at a certain level. But then that also, I felt like put this expectation of me of like, I have to sound like this on the drums, I have to do this on the drums. And it didn't become fun anymore of with all these expectations that I put on myself. And it was only until recently that I was like, okay, only I'm thinking that about myself. What if you just let go of that and just start playing again for yourself? Like, what does it mean for you to enjoy drums? And so I've just been spending the summer actually just like sitting at my kit, literally playing whatever I want. And I've been listening to like a lot of hard rock lately, so it's been fun to like go through some Breaking Benjamin and like I just started playing a song by Avenged Sevenfold recently, and that's just been like cool to reorient myself with joy and play on an instrument that I found it really hard to do that for. And so I didn't want that to happen to classical percussion. And I think part of the ways that I have been able to prevent that is just like keeping my own personal stuff fun. So like one thing that I've been doing is taking a lot of riffs from songs that I like and just transcribing that for marimba, playing those, posting them as covers. And then with my students, thankfully, it's a lot of the same level, like beginner to intermediate advanced sort of level, like right before post-secondary. I find that with teaching, though, it's less about what I want to do with them and more about what my students want to do, which I'm thankful that I've had a lot of really motivated, self-driven students who kind of direct their own learning, and I just help to kind of steer them and nudge them in the directions that I think is beneficial. I think that's been really helpful. It's just like retaining that sense of play.
So a follow-on question from that one. Do you think as a melodic percussionist, you sometimes don't get the appreciation you would if you played any other melodic instrument?
Yes and no. I think I still to this day often have to correct people that no, I don't play the xylophone. Like it's not just a xylophone. I think that's like the biggest gripe that I have is even if I like say in the caption, like I'm playing the marimba here, people are like, wow, like it's a cool xylophone. And I'm like, it's not a xylophone. But jokes aside, other than that, I feel like a lot of people really respect and admire percussionists. Part of it is not to toot our own horn, but the instruments that we play are very cool. Especially like I played a lot of wind band when I was like growing up, and percussion always adds the color or like, the icing and the sparkles. And yeah, we make the sort of details and those bright, cool, fun colors come out. But also some of the like sound effects, right? Or like if we play battery instruments and like, we even have like the thunder sheet sometimes to convey like thunder or all these sound effects and things like they're finishing touches. It's like, it's kind of like the mastering engineer of like the wind band. It's like the percussion really, I don't actually know if that's true. Maybe cut that part. But yeah, I just think that like growing up and playing percussion, there was an appreciation, I think, for what we did. Also, because we had to move instruments. Like, we always have to move instruments. And, like, percussion is not as common.
Nobody ever bloody helps.
No. And I think that it's not as commonplace as, like, a piano or something where, like, you can find a piano literally anywhere. But it's a little harder to ask for just, like, marimbas to pop out of nowhere, Like, yeah, I think there is a lot of appreciation, especially when we have to bring our own gear and I have to hire a second person whenever I need to move my marimba because it's literally impossible for me to do by myself. I would just say there's some confusion sometimes, mostly just around the name. But that's just because I feel like the percussion family, especially mallet percussion, is a little more obscure for general listeners typically.
There's a lot of assumption when somebody says they're a percussionist that they're a drummer.
I also find that people are surprised when I say that I play the drums because I'm an Asian female, I guess. And I remember doing a Facebook Marketplace buy recently, and the guy was like, it's cool that you're a drummer. I don't see many Asian females drumming. And I was like, okay, you're just in the wrong communities then. I feel like I know a lot. So
you have several Instagram profiles, and one is of your photography, which is under Danielle Sum Photography. There's some really great shots there. And I noticed you've also taken some pictures of your own bandmates from Tiger Balm on there as well.
I have, yeah.
If you could only choose music or photography, which would it be?
The age-old question. That's hard. I think I've been asked that in the past, and if I had to choose, I think it'd be music. It's funny because I feel like it can be a hard question because I have grown to really love photography and it's a really big part of my career. It's what brings in a lot of money for me. But I think like from a passion standpoint, there's nothing that replaces the rush of getting to make music for me, I would say.
I like to do a background search on everyone I interview. And I think the funniest thing I picked up on is it's something you've put on your own webpage. And that's just the joke about despite your surname, you're definitely not good at maths. Is this something you got teased for at school, maybe?
No one has ever made fun of me for being bad at math, but I think just growing up Asian, it felt like I always had to be good at math. And I was like average at best, I would say. But like just seeing all these other kids in my high school with like their 99s and 100s in calculus. And I was like, I had to eventually get a math tutor. Like I had a math tutor for the better part of high school just because like concepts were just getting a lot harder. And I think it was a joke that kind of came up because I was substitute teaching once in a math class, and the kids were like, "Okay, your last name is Sum. Like, can you help us with anything?" And I was like, "No, respectfully, no. Like, I'm the worst possible person that could be your substitute teacher right now." So it's just a joke that mostly comes up when I'm substitute teaching more than anything.
The other thing I noticed because I always
Mhm.
ask Gemini, I do use a little bit of AI just to look into the background of everybody.
Oh,
And it gave such a huge list of orchestras and productions you've been involved in.
wait, what? That's crazy. That feels like Gemini's making stuff up. I don't know what we're talking
Well,
about.
I think it was probably from right back through your teenage years and things as well, because it seemed like there were like school bands and things like that
Maybe.
listed.
Yeah, or
So
like my
you should,
CV is up floating on the internet or something. I should check that out.
yeah, you should. But it's always
Okay.
interesting to find out what AI says about all the bands and people I interview. So
Yeah.
I'm
Good
aware that
look.
your solo material is only really a side project, but what do you have coming? You said you've got an album in your mind, but that's going to take a while. What do you have coming up in terms of live shows and recording with Tiger Balm, for example, or anything else you're on?
I would say that looking to the fall, it seems like it's pretty open right now, which is kind of nice because Tiger Bomb's main project for the rest of the year will be recording our second album. Yeah, we have the songs. I think we're just figuring out ideas and arrangements still, but we are looking forward to recording that. As we find out live shows, like we'll usually be pretty good about posting those on our Instagram and just being able to share those updates. We also have an email newsletter now, which I help to put together every quarter. And so we usually share our updates there. But I think for me personally, not much other than this. I go back to teaching work in September, and then I have a couple other freelance weddings that I'll be shooting. But no, I'm looking forward to the rest of 2025. It should be good.
I have to say, and I do some band photography and stuff as well, but I've always
Yeah.
found it hilarious that you say, "Oh, I'm going to shoot a band" or "I'm going to shoot a wedding." It's like it really
Yeah.
does sound inappropriate when you put it like that.
Oh yeah, especially if I'm doing family shoots, it's like, yeah, I'm like
Shooting my family.
sometimes yeah, gotta watch the wording sometimes.
So the final question, what
Mhm.
music are you listening to at the moment that people may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
This summer, I have been on a Meshuggah kick, I'm not gonna lie. So it's funny because I feel like the music that I listen to does not translate at all into the music that I actually create. I've been listening to a lot of Meshuggah, which is like a Swedish metal band. I love them. They're
Yep.
incredible. Sleep Token, which is a band from the UK that I have really come to love. They're like my favorite band right now. So those two have been on pretty heavy rotation. I will say that I recently got back into Avenged Sevenfold, one of their earlier albums. I think the one that's just called Avenged Sevenfold. I've been really enjoying. But I also feel like the summer is really nice for like random stuff. So I like listening to all sorts of music, and I'll often ask my friends for recommendations. Even though I listen mostly to like heavier music like metal or hard rock or progressive rock, I'm pretty open to everything. And so I've had a lot of friends recommend Bon Iver's Sable Fable album. I really liked it. The K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack was incredible. And because I recently had to go on a road trip, I listened to the entire Hamilton Broadway recording, and that was a good time too. So those are kind of the things that I'm seeing on my Spotify page right now. But I would definitely check out Meshuggah for those of you who are into heavier music. And if you're not, check out Sleep Token as the gateway.
Being in Finland, those bands are both massive here already. So,
Oh my gosh, I bet. Yeah. They're
but
incredible.
it's with this being a metal country, there's more. I think there's more metal bands per head of the population than anywhere else in the world, is the statistic.
Oh man, I need to come visit Finland. I feel like it's where I'm meant to like be like on a soul level with all the metal.
Well, come over with an American metal band. You can play drums and see the country at the same time.
Oh, that would be so cool. Yeah, I'll hit you up for that if we ever make our way to Finland.
So, for anyone wishing to find out more, I guess the best place to start is maybe your website.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good landing page for everything else.
Becoming This Is Letting Go by Danielle Sum is released on the 31st of August on all streaming platforms. I assume it's on all streaming platforms.
It's on
Right.
most of them.
Enough of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Danielle, thanks for coming back on the show, and I hope everyone hears this song because it is amazing. I love it. I think I've listened
Oh,
to it about
thank
25
you.
times since you sent it to me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Daniel, and it's great to reconnect and to see you again. Yeah, no, thank you for listening to my song and just for being so kind with your words and generous with your time. Really appreciate it.